Yeah, good morning and good afternoon and good evenings, depending on what time zone you are in. This is the AI Beyond Bias session, and we are going to start in just a minute once the clock hits 7 p.m. So right now it's 7 p.m., but I would like to check 3 speakers. When I call your name, could you please just say just a quick hello? Professor Kang Jung-han, are you on the line?
Yes, hello everyone.
Yeah, all right. And how about the Professor Lee Keun-myung? Are you on the line?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think
Not
he's
here.
in the process of coming in.
Yeah, okay. And Professor Sang-Wook Lee, are you on the line?
Yes, hello. Nice to see
Yeah,
you.
hello. Nice to meet you. Yeah. Before we get started, let me briefly introduce these sessions. It's very simply. So that we will start with the welcome address from the director or president, Hae-sung Lee, the Korea. After that, we will welcome 3 distinguished speakers in the following order. First, Professor Kang Jung-han, and the second is Professor Keun-myung Lee, and the last, Professor Sang-Wook Lee. And each of our 3 speakers will present for 15 minutes. As you know, due to the time constraint, we will have a Q&A sessions after all the presentations have been completed. But if you have questions or comments during the presentation, please submit them through the chat box. Okay. As you know, this session is very strictly scheduled. So we need to make sure we wrap up this session by 8 p.m. Korean Standard Times. Oh, I saw another presenter, and in my guess, maybe the final speaker is Professor Sang-Wook Lee. If the 2 first speakers, Professor Kang Jung-han and Lee Keun-myung, go over time, so in my guess, you just say hello and wave to finish our presentation.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I think all the important thing will be made by the 2 previous speakers. I'm fine with that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Everything
Professor
seems to work perfectly. Yeah, all right.
Professor Keun-myung Lee is in.
Keun-myung Lee, Professor Keun-myung Lee, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. I'm
welcome. Yeah, welcome. Okay, everything seems to work perfectly. All right, with that, the clock just is 7 o'clock for me. Let's go ahead and let's get started. Welcome to IDWSDS 2025, and thank you for joining us this session, AI Beyond Bias. I am Mie Kim, the professor of Chungdong National University, Korea. This session is organized by Gender Innovations in Science and Technology Research Center, GISTR in Korea. As you know, today's topic of this session is AI Beyond Bias. Recently, artificial intelligence has become deeply embedded in our daily lives. At the same time, it faced on important challenges. The issue of bias related on gender, race, and age. To explore a way to address this challenge, we've invited 3 distinguished speakers to join us today's sessions. Yeah. At the first, we will invite the welcome address from President Hae-sung Lee, GISTR Korea. Let's give her warm welcome to be.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us across the globe. We extend a huge welcome to this critical session, AI Beyond Bias, presented as a highlight of the IDWSDS program. I am Hae-sung Lee, the president of GISTR, the Korea Center for Gender Innovations in Science and Technology Research. Our core mission is to champion better science and equity in the technological world, making this session central to our focus. AI is ubiquitous, driving health diagnosis, shaping financial decisions and influencing communications. Yet, this incredible power carries a profound challenge: AI bias. These biases based on gender, race, and age are not minor technical cliches. They have damaging real-world consequences, creating disparities in hiring, healthcare, and justice. An equitable future with AI is not automatic. It requires our active participation and immediate action. This is exactly why we've convened 3 leading experts for AI beyond bias. This is a crucial call to action designed to give you an actionable roadmap for building a more equitable and sustainable AI ecosystem. Our speakers will guide us through 3 crucial areas of solution: challenging narrow assumptions in development, utilizing authentic data, and embracing diversity in methodology. This session is essential for everyone, from practitioners and researchers to policymakers and engaged citizens. You will walk away with a deeper understanding and a practical plan. Don't just watch the future unfold, help shape it. We are thrilled you're here. Please join us at AI Beyond Bias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Lee Hae-suk. Okay, all right. Let's begin with our first speakers. Our first speaker is Professor Jung Han-gang from Yonsei University, Korea. Let me give you a quick introduction to the professor's background. He received his PhD from the University of Chicago and conducted PhD research at the Cornell University, USA. He currently served as a director of the CLIO Institute for Society Development Studies and as editor-in-chief of the Journal of the Korean Association for Survey Research. His research focused on digital transformation, narrative-driven data science, and the science from the gender perspective. Yeah, it's very wonderful, Korea. 자, please join me. Welcome, Professor Jung Han-gang. Let's give the big hand. Okay, are you ready?
Okay. Yes, thank you for the very generous introduction. And let me just share my slides. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm a sociologist from Yonsei University, and would like to start with this global report by Varieties of Democracy Institute. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So according to the report, the last year, the number of autocratic countries surpassed the number of democratic countries for the first time in 20 years. And if you look at the population distribution, world population distribution, that switch is even more dramatic. So you can see that currently only 28% of the world population live in democratic regime. So I would summarize it like, so we don't live in the politically correct world anymore. We are moving toward political populism. So I'm a kind of a computational social scientist. So given this reality, a paradox came into my mind. On the one hand, scientists and policymakers, they strongly believe in evidence-based decision-making more than ever. But when you look at our civic engagement, we don't have any shared evidence anymore. And we are divided in the very different world, so-called post-truth society. And there are various reasons like psychological confirmation bias and echo chamber effect, because people of the same, sharing the same evidence, they interact within their own network. And at the same time, eventually identity politics emerged in a very negative way. So I'm kind of asking, so what is evidence then, scientific evidence? And this old sociologist kind of gave me a hint. So even scientific evidence cannot reduce to data. Scientists' perspective have very significant influence on the stage of research design, data collection, interpretation, and so on. So when we apply that perspective to social data, I will say, so evidence requires both the statistical pattern and the narratives in it, and which means so the stories and the motivations of human agents who actually generate those social data, we need to recover and understand and interpret that part of the data. And so returning to the original paradox, we can say that so scientists and policymakers, they tend to focus on pattern, but the citizens tend to be more driven by very empathetic narratives. So that's very different process, different from a reasoning process. And we have to admit that. That's the starting point, I think. And just let me give you a hypothetical example how patterns and narratives can collide each other. So let's suppose that efforts breed success. That's a dominant statistical pattern. But without very interesting narratives, we don't pay much attention to that patterns. But the problem in the digital society is we can collect outliers if we want, conveniently. So an influencer may tell you very loudly how people can succeed without effort. At the other side, another YouTuber might tell you why you can fail in spite of a lot of effort. Then eventually a third-party observer observed both of them, and so this is the global big picture of the relationship between effort and success. So exactly opposite of the actual dominant patterns. But if more and more people believe in that pattern, that might eventually change our decision making and the reality. So given this 2x2 typology of information, scientists have made efforts on this process, which means so by fact checking, we want to examine whether rumor is an evidence or not. But from now on, I would like to pay more attention on this process, which means the data mining status, it doesn't have narratives, but by recovering narratives, we need a real evidence for sustainable democracy, I would say. And I'd like to formalize narrative in this way. So narrative is a story given very specific social identity. So let me give you an example. So this picture shows a narrative of a female scientist who has a baby under the early stage of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in her blog post, she shows how male scientists enjoyed much more increase in paper productivity compared to female scientists. So I was wondering if that is really true, and we examined the entire journal papers, and what we found is this female disadvantage was the strongest for the first authorship position, which means the role of female scientists tend to be marginalized during the early stage of the pandemic. So, our research, very data-driven research, was actually to explain that narrative summarized in the picture. I think that's the nature of social science. And I just want to introduce two leading AI computer scientists, Korean scientists, who contribute that kind of scientist diversity. This diverse scientist identity really matters, and that will contribute to ethical AI or unbiased AI, I think. But even given that, enhancing diversity is another challenging task beyond fixing bias. Let me give you an example. So this is a very famous old example of biased tagging by Google. So they fix it. More recently, the early version of Gemini generated these kind of very ethnically diverse pictures, but which are kind of unrealistic. So fixing bias is kind of a strategy to make AI more cautious and reserved. But enhancing diversity is very different. It has the risk of kind of over diversity, much like overfitting. So it may lead to a poorer performance. And I think this enhancing diversity is more challenging by that reason. And let me switch to another reason, which is called the machine culture. So if you look at those 8 different versions of avocado chair generated by image generated AI, then you may choose one picture and refine it and may produce the real physical chair. Then that will really influence our sense of cultural taste in the real world. And the right graph is much more striking one. It shows the human decision making in Go Play. Do you know the Go Play? How much that resembles AI players' decision making. The graph shows it, and it really spikes. I mean, suddenly increase resembles the AI decision making right after the top player Isidore was defeated by AlphaGo. So after that defeat, the human players began to emulate the AI players' decision makings, and well, I would say that these days, this Go Play has a completely different spirit compared to the past. So it's real cultural influence. And this kind of model collapse, the synthetic data was introduced as the input data. We can easily see how the model collapsed. But the cultural collapse is much more complicated and intriguing, I think. Have you ever seen these shrimp Jesus? There was slop made by generative AI. But the problem is it was really spread through Facebook and people just click like, probably for fun. But if AI learned our behavior, clicking behavior, and reflected onto that learning process, it may become more popular or whatever, and may eventually influence our real culture. So I already showed you that in the post-truth society, we live in that opinion polarized world. But if opinion collapse, culture collapse, or whatever value collapse happens, I guess that's much more serious problem. Agentic AI is pretty hot topic these days. And let's assume that you have multiple agents, they interact with each other and make a final decision for you. Then the problem is synthetic decisions are mixed with human decision in the digital world, and that way they will be fed into machine learning process. So given those different causes of post-truth society may apply to these AI agents. So agent decision can be also affected by confirmation bias. Interaction among them may simply amplify the echo chamber effect. And I might eventually have certain synthetic identity on the digital world. Then that could be another big problem. The final example is much more peaceful case. Have you ever watched that movie After Yang? It's very great movie. But what I want to point out here is that if you look at the poster, it is full of diversity. Black and white couple adopted Asian baby and a robot as a babysitter for the child. So real diversity in the future. But the problem is that robot never get angry. I mean, the robot doesn't express any negative emotions, and it's not allowed to have love or excitement. And the human adults in the movie, they are pretty similar. They never expressed any anger. They never get really excited. And the problem is anger is actually, empathetic anger is the basis of our moral sentiment, in fact. So keeping this emotional diversity is another requirement for improving or enhancing diversity in the AI world, in fact. So given this situation, machine learning learns from our narratives, and generative AI generates synthetic narratives, the stories. And the first step should be here, I think. So we need to accumulate our own authentic narratives online. That's the first step. To fix bias, representative data is really important. But I will say at this stage, what we really need is representative narratives for diverse social groups. And that is important because false narratives might breed hatred rather than empathetic understanding, mutual understanding. So I can define what is authentic as opposed to what is post-truth. So on Instagram, we really upload a lot of snobbish content, and it's kind of we perform our imaging. So authentic means not performative. Our actions should match our words. That is authentic, and obviously that should be true, and that shouldn't be synthetic. It's genuinely produced by human beings. But the problem is, I mean, authenticity is not an easy task to achieve, and we may perform authenticity too, and we might be tired of authentic presentation. So I would say the bottom line is we cannot be authentic when we judge others. We can be authentic only when about ourselves. So only when we generate our own narratives, we can be authentic. They can be kind of a guideline for how we can be authentic online. So, I mean, the present version of political correctness is not enough. I mean, being cautious and reserved to be unbiased may not be enough. And the post-truth society kind of shows that. And the next version of the correctness should be we need to be empathetic to others' authentic narratives. That's my suggestion. So we might be trapped in this diversity. The social identities are diversified, and the greater diversity, the common ground is much smaller and narrower. So our strategy should be, if the diversity is, the identity is diversified, I have my own unique narratives, which cannot be reduced to others. But based on that, by empathy, we might really understand others' unique narratives. That's how we expand our evidence to others' life in the social world. That's my suggestion. So this is my last word. In social media, we have different accounts, email account, Instagram account, and so on. And we know that the real I is really bigger than and richer than the mere sum of those accounts. But in the age of generative AI, the real I is getting closer and closer to the total sum of my agent, I think. So given this situation, we need to ask this kind of question. Should I keep authentic self from agent I, or should I reveal authentic I and teach my agent by revealing and feed authentic data to agent? My answer is we should do both, I think. So we need to keep authenticity distant from machine culture in a negative way. But at the same time, we need to teach my agent with that authentic data as ground truth. Okay, so that is my final words, and thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Kang Jong-Hans. Thank you for your inspiring presentations. The film After Young, introduced by you, was truly thought-provoking for me as well. Okay, maybe Professor Kang's presentations give the message to us. Diversity is not a or location. Diversity is a synthetic expression, so in my guess. And next, while the Professor Kang's offered us a cultural perceptions of AI, I believe many of you are now curious about what the story looks like from the more technical and data-driven point of the view. Okay, let's find out as we welcome our second speakers. Our second speaker is Professor Kwon Myung-lee from Chungbuk National University, Korea. Let me introduce the main background and the accomplishments of his accomplishments. And Professor Kwon Myung-lee earned his BS, MS, and PhD degree in computer science from KAIST Korea. And also he completed PhD research in INSA de Leon in France, and so on. And he is now a professor focused on the AI, machine learning, and the intelligent service system, and the social impact of AI. Okay, let's welcome to Kwon Myung-lee, like we can. Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
thank
can.
you. Okay, then my name is Kwon Myung-lee. The chair introduced. Thank you for the kind introduction for me. Then my topic is challenges of the fairness. Yeah, I'm a computer scientist, so that I may have a different respect from the other speakers. Okay, then when AI system filter out your resumes because of a certain word, or when AI system assigned a higher risk score to certain races, how would you feel about that? In my talk, I'll take a quick look at how AI technology has developed so far, and why we should be concerned about the fairness in AI, and what bias actually means, and why it is so hard to fix. And finally, what we should pay more attention to moving forward. The AI is a field devoted to realizing intelligence artificially. Although it is hard to define human intelligence precisely, we have been trying to make AI imitate human to implement intelligence. Now AI can do problem solving, the important decision-making, production, labor, creative works, various things. For the hardest benchmark, named as the humanities last exam, like this, and which requires the PhD level knowledge to solve, AI already is reached to solving about 60% of the problems that out of the 500 problem set. AI people have wanted to make AI system to behave like a human. They wanted to replicate human intelligence, but it is impossible to directly replicate it. Hence, they have tried to extract and use the knowledge from human. For effective the knowledge acquisition, they collect the data that humans have generated or observed, then use the machine learning techniques to extract patterns from data. Where they need a large volume of data. Data is the source of knowledge. That's why the people often say that data is the new oils for machine learning. More data beats the handcrafted algorithm. You don't always need a smart algorithm. Sometimes you just need more data. Data are collected by the observations of human behavior, social systems, and the physical world. The AI technology began as a simple rule-based system that evolved into machine learning. Next came the deep learning. We've reached the generative AI, and now we are entering the era of the agentic AI. AI is shifting from being a passive assistant to an active, intelligent participant in decision-making and problem solving. Then what makes a good AI model? A good one should work well, reliably, and with responsibility. When we talk about the quality of AI models, we refer to the accuracy, generalization, and efficiency, robustness, and scalability, interpretability, and fairness and ethics. Some of these criteria trade off with one another, but there are some conflicts among them. Here, I want to dive more the detail into the fairness in AI. The fairness in AI means that a model's decision or prediction do not unfairly discriminate against any individual group. In other words, an AI model should treat everyone equally and justly, regardless of gender, race, age, or other personal sensitive attribute. However, because we humans have own prejudices and stereotypes, bias can be introduced into the data and the AI models, which leads to a reduced fairness in their outcomes. Usually when we develop the AI systems, we follow this kind of pipeline. The bias can emerge into almost every stage of this machine learning pipeline, from data collection and pre-processing to model training and deployment. At the data collection, the sampling and the selection bias and data cleaning and preparation stage, the labeling bias include the human bias and cultural bias, and data selection and training. There are the algorithmic bias evaluation stage, the evaluation biases about the training data set and a test data set and the performance metrics. And deployment operational biases, monitoring at the feedback stage, the feedback loop biases. Biased model ops can reinforce the future data bias. There are many the stages and factors which introduce bias in AI models. There are many real-world examples for the AI model, the biases. Many of them you are familiar with that. Let me briefly go over that one. Amazon's hiring algorithm, which was trained on the 10 years of job application of Amazon. It turned out that the system downgraded resumes that included the words like the women's chess club or the women's college. Compass is a criminal risk assessment tool used in certain U.S. court. A civic organization ProPublica claimed that it is twice as likely to label Black defendants as high risk compared to the white defendant with a similar criminal record. Apple Card gave low credit limit to the women than the men with a similar financial profile. For this, the early stage of the facial recognition systems, there is a study that those systems gave the error rate up to the 35% for the dark-skinned women, compared to less than 1% for the light-skinned men. The healthcare risk prediction models in the United States show that the Black patient appears less in need for medical cares because they historically has less access to the healthcare. The medical field is no exception. There are studies showing that difference in diagnostic accuracy and treatment recommendation based on the genders in the areas like heart disease and mental health and pain assessment. And many examples of that kind of the sort of the discrimination or the imbalanced accuracy. Bias is rooted in the stereotypes and the prejudice, often resulting in a discrimination. Despite the negative image, bias can sometimes reflect familiarity and convenience or even the profitability. Promoting diversity is one of the most effective ways to reduce bias. though the diverse can feel unfamiliar at first. But it can lead to greater equality and the fairness and shared social values. Usually, more diversity in AI model can reduce bias and promote fairness. To ensure that AI model work fairly and effectively for everyone, we need to secure the diversity, the following, the four key areas: diversity in data, design, and people, and testing. Let's each of them briefly. There are the common assumptions on training data. Data reflect the reality. Data is independent and identically distributed. The labeled data accurate. There are enough data for all groups, and the distribution of training and testing data are similar. In reality, these assumptions often do not hold, usually do not hold. Samples are collected according to the distribution of the real data. It means that the data for the minority groups are insufficiently collected and even lower in quality. There are problems of underrepresentation groups and imbalanced data distribution. Data can be categorized into mechanical, the physical data and the social data. In either categories, the volumes and coverage of data are important for building AI models. But with the social data, things get even more complicated because social structures are shaped by the bias and inequality, and that affect how data is generated. The collection of social data influenced by this kind of various factors: historical inequality, institutional bias, and representation imbalance, cultural norms and stereotypes, and economic geographic inequality, and policy and power dynamics. It means that the social data is basically biased. This slide shows the changes of the adjectives commonly associated with men and women. Then the top one is changed. The other also the adjectives for the women and the men are different, and the rankings associated also the change over time. We see on this figure that social bias would change over time. This is another example of the social bias. This study found that the GPT-4, one of the latest language models, showed that different gender biases in the word choices across the languages. There are many factors that influence the bias. Next aspect is the design diversity. There are technical methods to combine the different algorithms or models to improve overall performance and scalability. Things like the ensemble learning and mix of experts. But at this design stage, we face very complicated, the fundamental philosophical dilemma. There are conflict between utilitarian approach and a fairness-centered approach. The utilitarian approach focuses on the maximizing overall performance. In other words, the greatest happiness for the greatest number. It may sacrifice the minority's happiness even if they are treated unfairly. But in the fairness-centered approach, it focuses on the ensuring equal treatment for everyone. It may sacrifice total performance for equality. Therefore, the companies to develop or deploy AI model would hold the utilitarian perspective, while the individuals would have the fairness perspective. Then third type of diversity is the human diversity. AI systems are created by people. If the development team itself is biased in their background and perspective, the resulting AI systems is very likely to inherit those same biases. So the people building the AI system really matter. When diverse people get involved, it becomes easier to identify correct problems that might otherwise be overlooked. If you are asked to an AI like the ChatGPT draw an image of Catholic Church leader, it would mostly produce the image of white man like this. For this kind of use prompt that the behind the algorithm, behind the prompt, the AI system augment that prompt with this kind of length description. This augmentation is made by actually the augmentation module to do this kind of thing is designed by the developers.
Professor Kwon Myung-lee, I am sorry to interrupt, but you have just 2 minutes left.
Okay. That if we change the prompt inserted in this kind of the black female like this, you can get the black female Catholic Church leader like this. We can get the diversity result by this own design there. For this kind of thing that the help to the diversify the data and the output of the AI system, then there is some criticism about that this kind of things to generate not actually in the history and in the reality. So that from here that should the AI reflect as it is or the ideal reality we aspire to? Then the last thing is the fairness testing, the assessing whether AI system fair is itself. Actually, it is a very complex and difficult problem. So we see in the compass system that the ProPublica used the criteria, a measures they shows that some discrimination, but the development team has countered by saying that if you use the other the criteria, so-called the PPV, then there is no racial differences in that. Then there are the dozens of the metrics about the fairness. Then we can say that it is impossible practically to unify them. Then some of them, some conflict in each other. That means it is not easy to say that some system is fair or not. Then there are some the frameworks to evaluate that the fairness of the AI system, even though there are many conflicting criteria. Then the next is that what do we have to do? Basically, there are 2 dimensions of fairness: the substantive fairness and the procedural fairness. Then so far we are talking about the substantive fairness. But the people, the users of the AI system has also interest in the procedural fairness. It means that they want to know what kind of the decision the process has used to make a decision, to generate the output. Users are getting more and more concerned about fair treatment and justification. Then there are some uncomfortable truths. AI system is mostly unbiased. No single definition of metric fairness to satisfying all the stakeholders, and socially marginalized and underrepresented groups are at great risk. There are tensions between the provider and the users. And there are some the people, they want to have trustworthy AI. They need some collaboration, international regulation and governance, and the companies also pay more attention to the potential risk and the biases in their system. Individuals also they have pay more attention about the fairness of AI system. They need to engage actively and comprehend what happened there, assess how they fail or not, and advocate for improvement. Okay, thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Kwon Myung-lee, for your wonderful presentation. Maybe he sent us the message. AI doesn't free us from the bias, but it just automated them. So maybe Professor Sang-Wook Lee. Fortunately, the first 2 speakers have left plenty of time for you. You can present. And
I don't think I have plenty of time because we need 10 minutes, 10 minutes for discussion, but I don't think
Yeah, thank you very much. And also, I will give a comment in this fast changing era where culture and the technology involved together. Maybe how should we embrace the ethic and the philosophy in the age of AI? Maybe to help us solve the questions, please join me in welcoming Professor Sang-Wook Lee give us the one of solutions. In my guess. Next presentations. Okay, maybe his career and his acclimatations you can find in the IDWSDS 2025 homepage site. And Sang-Wook, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure whether I can offer you a solution, but I can still make you think about the problem we need to tackle with in the age of AI. Okay, let me just keep the slideshow. Okay, my presentation, I tried to make it shorter than I originally planned, is the centered on the notion of ethics as enabler. So what I want to emphasize is AI is not just a tool which you can use recognizing its limitation. For instance, this wings, humans cannot fly, but if you use these mythical wings, you can fly. But if you do not pay attention to its limitation, which the wax was used to patch the link to your human body, then there is this problem of Icarus who just fall into the sea. That's the kind of common notion of technology as a tool. For instance, as long as you are keeping to its design limit, the tool usage doesn't actually have a great problem. But that's not going to work for the case of AI. And actually, if you look at the history of technology more carefully, like how washing machine, although it has a potential to reduce the washing hours dramatically, actually increased slightly the housewife's job in 1920s and 1930s American middle class home. You can recognize that the more convincing and more accurate description about our relationship with technology is not technology as a tool, but more or less human technology co-evolution, meaning that when you talk about the AI usage, deployment of human actually have a great impact of human being in such a way to change their desires and their purpose and their institution and their way of interacting with each other, as Professor Kang Jung-han just told us. And that kind of change of human being actually reflected into the AI development in such a way that their interactions actually commingled in a very complex way. So we need to look at the human AI co-evolution when we talk about when we think about the diversity, how to increase diversity in AI as well. And sorry, the phenomena of this co-evolution, can be easily captured in the problem of D-skill. It's well known that if you use, when you are experts especially, if you use AI, it can increase your productivity dramatically. But if you rely on AI too much, then you cannot perform the cognitive task you used to do quite easily. And that's a problem of D-skill. And if this problem goes on at the social level, then the human being may have lose certain very crucial cognitive skill. That's a real threat, and that's a big topic for the AI and education. And I will just skip the unfamiliar feature of AI. So what I want to emphasize is, if you look at this AI human co-evolutionary framework, you can recognize that depending on how we build and deploy AI, actually diversity consideration are productive for AI innovation. They can be productive and contribute to the AI innovation substantially and fundamentally in two ways. First one is diversity as a scientific method, and second one is diversity as a new perspectives. So I will talk about a little bit on each point using several examples. So scientific method, I mean, some of the basic scientific method can be captured the method of induction. And many scientists use it daily. And you have to recognize the important fact about the scientific induction, which is that the sheer number of cases doesn't matter. Actually, the diversity of cases, how diverse your evidence are for certain evaluation of your hypothesis is crucial for reliable scientific conclusion. Actually, it is well known from many important scientists in history of science, such as Copernicus. Copernicus was famous for its conceptual revolution. We tend to think that Copernicus achieved its great scientific success because he can think outside of the framework, given fixed framework. But actually, if you look at the historical records, Copernicus was a great star observer. I mean, the way he arrived at his solar-centric system, heliocentric system, was he made a lot of different observations about our solar system so that he could recognize that it cannot be reconciled with traditional geocentric system. So it's basically, if you make observation as diverse as possible, it actually contributes to objectivity of your scientific conclusion. And the gender data, it cannot be an exception. So if you have a gender data gap, it just automatically shows that your scientific conclusion with gender data gap is objectively impaired. So from the purely scientific methodological point of view, you have to have a diversity in evidence. But secondly, we need a diversity in perspectives as well. For instance, now it's well known that AI innovation are focused on achieving certain benchmarks, like some of the very difficult tests, whether a certain AI model can pass or not. But if we do not focus on these purely technological goals and try to achieve a disruptive innovation, rather, if we consider how our technological innovation can contribute to the advancement of shared welfare or general welfare for whole human being, then you may have different perspectives about how to achieve responsible innovation in the development of AI. And the Nobel laureate in 2024 in economics, Darren Semoglu, with Simon Johnson, published a book, Power and Progress, where they discuss, does every technological innovation increase people's shared welfare? And their answer was yes and no, depending on the existence of countervailing power and ethical governance. So if we take seriously of these two factors, then you can achieve this shared welfare from AI. But if we do not, so-called paradox of agriculture shows well that purely disruptive nature of scientific or technological innovation doesn't guarantee the shared advancement of welfare for every human being. And so the question is whether we can make our AI development as something like water technology, which actually increased general shared welfare of humankind dramatically. And another thing which we have to keep in mind is because of a time limitation, I cannot really talk about this very detail. But if you look at the history of first industrial revolution, you can divide this first industrial revolution into two periods. And the first period was the period where technology was mostly replacing human labor. But second period, the many engineers focused on developing technology, automation technology, coupled with the human expert, actually increase the productivity more significantly. So that's called so-called enabling technology or the augmentation technology. And if you look at these two periods, the crucial point, one of the crucial points which make this transition possible was the abolition of child labor. So the Parliament Act imposed regulation that you cannot use cheap child labor, and that actually make industrialists and engineers to think hard how to achieve productivity from different way of automation, and they come up with this human enhancement technology. So what I'm saying is ethical governance of AI innovation is more important than its technical excellence for human welfare. And it's purely human choice, not something you just take down from the technological development. So in that sense, ethics can be an enabler. We Korean tend to have a notion that ethics is something which has fixed rules, which inhibit certain bad behaviors. But ethics, because ethical consideration can elaborate what is the ethically desirable choices and how to move forward in order to take the benefits out of this choice, actually make a important decision and desirable way of achieving innovation. So I happen to engage in this research project, which taking both statistical bias and value bias seriously, and try to tackle this problem in a more dynamical way. And we try to use a knowledge representation and reasoning. And our paper was accepted in KR 2025 conference. And here we try to use the AI technology with the value consideration, ethical consideration, and make technology better. So the details are not important. What I'm saying is, if you combine, well-judged ethical consideration with technological development, actually ethics can be an enabler to promote AI innovation. And so that's the message I want to emphasize. And my final message is we should make or shape the future of AI aligned with our core values. We shouldn't just wait for a future to arrive in the age of AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Lee, and thank you very much for all three of our distinguished speakers. Today's presentation provided meaningful insight on how we can move beyond the bias, reconsidering artificial intelligence not only as a technical tools, but also as a social, ethic, and philosophy challenges. So I will recap. I will show showing this slide. Can you show us? So at the first, as mentioned, President Hae-sung Lee gave us three keywords. The power of at the first times is this break away from the familiar, and drive diversity is not located, and diversity is synthetic. And also second is give us the power of synthetic data. In the film of coded bias, the main character is said in the film, the AI doesn't free us from our bias, it just automates them. And the last, the embracing diversity, methodology, and quality. And as you can see, the last slide, yeah, time is not enough to us. So thank you very much. On behalf of GSTER, I would like to sincerely thank you for our speakers and all participants for joining us. That concludes our session, Artificial Intelligence Beyond the Bias. Thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.